All right, everybody. Hi, this is Delilah from Alta Baja Market, and welcome to our first Zoom wine tasting from our Baja Wine Club. Thanks everybody for braving the heat to do this today, which maybe wasn't so hard since we're having a lot of great cold wines as well. So I'm going to be sitting here as a participant today, and I'm going to leave this to Tom of La Competencia. Everybody here has either emailed him or talked to him at some point, and I am going to let him take it from here. So thank you. Everybody, if you do have questions or anything, just please use the chat, and take it away, Tom.
Thanks, Delilah. This has really been exciting. When Delilah and I first talked about helping her to create a Baja Wine Club, it was just an idea. It was just a concept. And now we're, I think, well over 30, 35 members already, and it's only been maybe 4 months. So that's a tremendous start. But yes, my name is Tom Bracamontes. I'm the owner of La Competencia Imports. I started this, honestly, because I went down to Valle de Guadalupe and absolutely fell in love with the region. For any of you that have been fortunate enough to actually visit down there as well, there's something very magical about it. The wines, the food, the people. And to me, I think it's the winemakers kind of help take it over the top. So we have 3 great winemakers or winery owners that will be joining us for the discussion. What I'm going to do is I will keep track of all the chats. And if you guys have any questions that pop up, I will do my best to direct them to the appropriate winemaker. And if we don't get to your chat, then we can always kind of follow up towards the end of at the end of the session. But for me, I think it's a lot more interesting the more you hear from the winemakers and the vintners in terms of the wines that they're producing and why. I think the more fun that we'll have. So I'm going to start it right off by putting Sergio Salgado. Well, first let me tell you who's the winemakers that are here with us today. First we have Lulu Martinez, who's fixing her hair. Lulu, you look lovely as always. Yes. So Lulu Martinez is the owner or is the partner and winemaker for Bruma. She also makes the wines for Palafox. You have Sergio Salgado, who is the owner of Santos Brujos. And you have Daniel Lomberg, who in addition to his own brand called Vinsur, which has Literal and Cañada de los Encinos, he's probably the busiest wine consultant in the Valley. Also makes wines for Adobe Guadalupe, Hilo Negro, MV, Hacienda Guadalupe, Norte 32, and probably somebody's uncle and cousin I'm not even aware of yet. So that being said, we've got 3 great winemakers that are going to be able to share with you a great perspective, not just on the wines that they produce, but the Valley in general. So Sergio, I'm going to put you on the spot right off the top. Let's start off with your 2019 Santos Brujos Tempranillo, rosé made from Tempranillo.
Rosé made from Tempranillo, 2019. Hi, everybody. Great to have you, have the opportunity to talk to you, all you guys, about our wines. Tom, amigos del Valle. Yeah, well, we're going to talk a little bit about the rosé Santos Brujos. First, I want to tell you that our project is a really small project. It's a boutique winery, which me and my wife started 11 years ago, and we are right now the only ones certified organic and biodynamic. Being said that, we work with that philosophy, so all of our wines are deeply with a profound respect for Mother Earth. We believe our wines are in rhythm with the universe, and we use all the principles that biodynamics and the universal rhythm has for us. So we try to do all of our field activities in according to all that way of thinking. So we started that around 6 years ago. We've been organic since we started, but then the biodynamics came after. So we don't, we know that that's something a little bit on the side. We know that we have to do good wines in order to be an option for all you guys. So, but we have a few restrictions, and we do all that of the certified thing. It just for a third party to, by all means, to certify the way we work, or you guys to be sure that what we're saying it's verified, right? So we have this rosé. It's this is the first time we made something this light. We get the wines. A rosé, it's a little bit. I like to think it's a little bit different than the regular rosé. We get it dry. It's dry, all the way dry. So we have great acidity. We have a long finish and really balanced. It's a little bit more structured than the previous years, and I think it's a really good rosé. I mean, and when I say it's the first time we make it this light is because we like a strong body, you know, potent, natural wines. So so I think it's really good. It's really well balanced and great acidity. I don't know if you guys all have tried it, and what do you think?
Hey, Lulu and Danielle, you guys feel free to chip in. The question that I have is, Sergio was mentioning that this rosé tends to be a little lighter in color. Historically, have you found that most of the rosés in Baja have been darker in color, more skin contact?
No, I was talking about my story, our story.
So, but
not generally.
right, but in general, though, haven't most rosés typically been darker in color? Those coming out of Mexico?
But bueno, for me, it depends because I make a different rosé in different project. Right, for example, I work in Adobe Guadalupe. It's a medium winery, but it's very important here in Mexico. But our rosé is a little more darker. It's very different than another rosé. For me, depend who made the enology, the winemaker make it. Depend. And Adobe is darker, fruity but darker.
And Sergio, you make two different rosés, correct?
Yeah, we try. This is yes. This is we normally do a rosé, thinking we have in our heads, you know, Mexican food. So do a strong rosé, a really dark. I mean, a dry rosé. So more store red. But as I tell you, this time we wanted to try something different and make it lighter in color, and I think it's really good. I mean, and the color is sparkly, it's clean, and you have that Jolly Rancher kind of taste, which I really like. But I agree with Daniel that it's enology, maybe decision, and the varietal, no? Also.
Sergio, we have a question. Bernadette wants to know whether or not it's aged in still barrel. Is it in still barrels? In stainless steel?
Yes. It's fermented in inox tank, and I like to think of this rosé as like the purest and the simplest form or presentation of Tempranillo from Valle Guadalupe. It's like just harvesting, fermentating, and then bottle almost. Just really simple. We used to do it as a sanguier from the Santos Brujos. This year, 2019, is not. We picked up the sections that we wanted to do it from, so it's from its own vineyard now, the youngest part of the vineyard. So it's not a sanguier anymore.
And Sergio, in addition to the Santos, to your rosé, what other varietals do you produce?
We just have we're single vineyard, so we have Tempranillo, which we do this rosé, and then the Santos Brujos. Also, our best presentation card, which we're gonna launch next month, is Ananda, and those are Tempranillo. 100%. We produce also the Chardonnay. It's only those two varietals because of we believe in we believe in that, you know, the monovarietal, and just trying to do a 100% single vineyard product.
All right, and what would you pair this with? What would you typically enjoy this with when you're down in Valle?
Yeah, well, our best, you know, and I think we're not the only ones because it's like a really traditional platillo. It's on chiles en nogada. No? You know, there's a temporada, there's a season of those that platillo, and in Mexico, in Puebla, that's almost our, you know, like when that starts, everybody wants the rosé with that platillo, you know, with that.
All right, now I've got a question that's probably pretty complicated. Hopefully, Sergio, you can condense this into maybe a couple minute explanation. Somebody is asking if you could explain the biodynamic process, and I know that is a pretty long answer, but if you can give an abbreviated explanation, that'd be much appreciated.
Yes, it's a form of agriculture in which a progressive form of agriculture in which respect for Mother Nature and the elements and the focus of all the intention to fertilize the soil it's the soil. So you are almost all of the time you are looking to have a great soil, and then if you have a great soil, you have a great plant and great fruit and almost great wine. So you have to take care of the soil. So one thing I like to say is that when you have it's just a little example of what I think all the is, is you put attention in those things that you usually don't, in terms of the universe when you're doing working on the winery, in which, for example, if you come to a farm and you take away what it's there and you plant, in this case, vines, they're not sustainable without our help, So as we came in and did that mess, we took away the ecosystem that it was naturally there. There was a rhythm there. There was a universal rhythm there. And you came here as a person and take it away. So the compromise or the focus or the intention of a biodynamic farm is to get it back in rhythm. You want to get it back in that rhythm in order to be sustainable, natural. And when you do that, it's like when you, for example, and we're almost just starting that season. So sometimes the sun, I like to think it's like it's winning, and the earth is here. So the sun, when it starts to win with like a levitation force, it's in March, springtime and that. And so it's pulling the energy out of earth. And then in the fall right now, the earth starts winning. So everything starts going towards the soil. The leaves start falling down. The plant starts going to sleep. And then in springtime, the sun again wakes you up. It's sort of like us. If you don't get, the whole picture is like ourselves. When the sun comes out, you wake up. actually don't know why, but you know, you wake up, and then when the sun goes down, you go to sleep. You know, so it's natural. You know, so putting attention on those things can make you influence a little bit on flavors and colors. So it's taken it that way. You know, so the viticulture took the biodynamics first of any other form of agriculture, because what we're looking for, all the winemakers, I think it's, you know, for that, you know, that...
Well, balance.
El terreno, el terroir, todo esto, ¿no? Estás buscando, you're looking for that special, you know, the varietal expressing itself, you know? So biodynamics lets the plant do that, you know, in a healthy environment, natural and all that. So that's why we focus on that, and we aim for that. You know?
I just wanted to chime in and just tell everybody that please use the chat area to let us know what you think of the wine, what notes that you're getting off of it as well. Please do that.
All right, Sergio, thank you for your explanation about your project, about biodynamics. If anybody has additional questions, at the end, I'm sure we're going to have more time, and we'll open it up to any other questions you might have for Sergio. So thank you once again, Sergio. All right, with number one down, we're going to turn it over to La Princesa de Valle, the Princess of the Valley. That's Lulu Martinez. She knows I love
you, Tom.
Every opportunity I get to make fun.
I know. Thank you. So I'm not the Princess of the Valley, but I am Lulu Martinez. Thank you, Tom. So just a little bit about Bruma. We are, the vines were planted in 2008. It's a property that has, well, the winery is quite new. In 2017 was our first vintage fermented here. We have a hotel with around 16 rooms and a restaurant, well, actually now 2 restaurants, a restaurant called Fauna and a wine garden that is in a really nice outside space in the middle of our vineyards. I started here as a consultant winemaker in 2017, and recently in 2019 I was invited to be well, partners in this project, and I'm full-time here at Bruma. What we're actually trying today is our Plan B Chardonnay, which is 100% Chardonnay from Llano Colorado. I don't know if you guys have the bottle. In the back label, you actually see single vineyard Llano Colorado. That's very important for us. When I started here, I spent or I worked 16 years in Bordeaux. So, you know, France has a big influence in the style of wines that I have and in the philosophy of the house. So when I started, for me, you know, in France, terroir is something very, very important. And we selected specific plots of land that we loved because of the interaction between the soil, the terroir, the climate, and the varietals. And south of Ensenada, there's a place or a valley called San Vicente. They actually have a lot of clayish soils. Here in Bruma, we have all of our red varietals, but I love the clayish soils of south of Ensenada. So this particular Chardonnay all comes from a plot or a rancho called Llano Colorado. And this clayish soil gives it a lot of freshness. I love, actually I love acidity and freshness in all of the wines, specifically in whites and rosés. And with this Chardonnay, the idea was basically to have a very pure, very fresh, of course, non-oak at all, only stainless steel, varietal approach to the Chardonnay. And what I love about this is that it has very crisp fruit. It's not, you don't get a sense of it being a tropical Chardonnay. It's actually very low on alcohol. I don't acidify any of our wines, so this is all natural acidity. Of course, it has low alcohol, 11.7%, because you want to have kind of that freshness. The kind of, you have a lot of citric, fresh peach, green apple aromas, and just the brightness of it is very, very pleasant. And even though I like, I know how you can like those tropical aromas, I just feel that floral, more fresh aromas make the wine more elegant. So basically, this Chardonnay for me is an example that, in fresh soils in Baja California, despite our hot weather, we can get a lot of elegance and crispness from our wines.
Lulu, question: Why did you elect to do a stainless steel Chardonnay versus one that's maybe been aged in barrel or gone through malolactic?
I hate malolactic Chardonnays in barrels.
Tell us how you really feel.
I think for me the best wine in the world is Burgundy. I love Chardonnays from Burgundy. So I do like Chardonnay with oak. It's just that I think it's been a trend for such a long time. There's a lot of very oaky, heavy, complex Chardonnay, which sometimes you really don't feel for. No, it's too heavy. It's not refreshing. And I used to love them, but I just grew tired of them. And I still have an issue with the abusive use of oak in white wines. You might think that Chablis or Montpouilly-Montrachet or big Burgundies have a lot of new oak, but it isn't the case. Most of the great Burgundy whites never go above 50% new French oak. And I think it's important because, I'm not to name anyone, but Napa really did a lot of really oaky, heavy Chardonnays. And I know my palate just grew very tired of it. So now I'm exactly the opposite. I love crispness and freshness in the Chardonnay.
Would you like to name anybody in general?
No, I think that's enough. I don't know if anyone has a question or comments about the wine. You're very shy.
Pairing suggestions. That's been always my thing. I want to know what you would serve this with.
So we serve quite a lot of Chardonnay of a Plan B here and at the restaurant at Fauna. And my favorite pairing for the moment is with scallops, a little bit of butter, a little bit of lime. It really kind of brightens the scallops, and flour tortillas. And it's amazing. Just kind of the creaminess of the sauce of the butter, but with the tartness of the lemon, just beautiful. Of course, oysters are, here in Baja we have a lot of oysters, and oysters go perfectly with this. But just I think the blend of the citrusy aromas with the butter and scallops work beautifully.
Lulu, how many years did you say you spent making wines in France, in Bordeaux?
So I left when I was 18, and I studied French for a year, then studied a technical career in viticulture and enology, then agronomical engineering, and then at the Faculty of Enology of Bordeaux, enology. And right after that, so that was 6 years, and right after that, I started working at Chateau Contenac, which is a second grade growth in Margaux, and I spent 9 years there. So all in all, 15 years in Bordeaux.
So can we guess your age now?
25.
Perfect. All right. Anybody have any questions? Somebody's raising a hand.
Or high-fiving me.
Yeah, I don't know. It's either a high five or a hand.
High five.
High five. All right. Why Plan B? What did you call it Plan B?
Well, I think we could all identify with Plan B. We all start off with this idea of, it's very philosophical in a way. We all start of this idea of, wanting to marry the perfect guy or girl, having the great white picket fence house, and having 2 dogs, 3 cats, 2 kids, this being a lawyer or a doctor or whatever. So you have this utopic dream that you want to of your life, and then life happens and it brings you to a whole other experiences and the way and you know, you end up in places that you never imagined you would be. And then finally you end up in a plan B or C or D, or, you know, but you end in a different place, doing something completely different and living a completely different life than what you imagine. But you realize that that was the, you know, that all along, that was your plan A. That's the place where you're supposed to be from the beginning. It just took you life and experience to figure it out. And I think we can all identify ourselves with that. And this was a little bit, you know, this wine was a little bit about that, about how, well, all plan Bs are good, and it just takes time to figure things out. There's another phrase which I love, which is, it's all about how well, life is all about how well you you live with or figure out plan B. And I think it's exactly that.
Lulu, can you make me a plan Y? Because I'm on like my multiple plan.
No. Actually, this is more than a plan B. This is probably, yeah, X, Y, Z, and that.
Is there anything past the alphabet? Because I think I've reached that area. Oh, man.
Reincarnation.
Yeah.
All right. Any last questions for Lulu before we move on to the wines from Casa Magoni? Lulu will be joining us for the Plan B Tinto when we get ready to start the red wine. Questions, comments? We're good?
Okay.
Okay, so
There's one.
iPhone Shanice?
Shanice?
Yeah. You're on mute.
Oh, Shanice, you're on mute.
As far as a white, this is a very enjoyable vintage. I want to say, like, condition-wise, recently have you been having problems with producing the amount of grapes that you need to produce for this wine, or no?
No, actually, this year we had very high yields. I mean, 2019 we had a lot of rainfall, but this year we did too.
Nice.
And Llano Colorado, you know, the clayish, that's why I like to have this Chardonnay from Llano Colorado, because it's so clayish. Clay is soils, are cold soils that retain water, right. You know, very, very easily. So even in years that might be a little bit more challenging rainfall wise, we still have a lot of moisture. So
Nice.
So far, I've never had any problems with this Chardonnay from this particular plot. Plus, something that I didn't have in Bordeaux, and which is a huge benefit if you know how to work with it here in Baja, is that we can actually irrigate. So I can control the amount of water and the precise moment where I want it. So that gives me, you know, if I wasn't able to do that and we had the weather that we have, I think I wouldn't have that much freshness. But thanks to how we control and manage irrigation, we are able to have this natural, bright acidity that just makes this wine really enjoyable.
Yeah, it's really good. Typically, Chardonnay is not my favor, but I really taste the clay, and I thought that was funny until hearing you talk about it. The clay value, I definitely get that across, and yeah, I found a Chardonnay that I actually enjoy. It's very nice. It's very pleasant. So
thank you very much.
for keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank
Sure.
you.
You and Lulu can share notes on all your favorite Napa wineries that you hate and making bad Chardonnay. and I live in Napa, so I'll spread the word for you. All right, Lulu, thank you for your explanation of Bruma and the Chardonnay, and we'll be back to you guys shortly. I was hoping, and unfortunately, he's tied up this evening at another event. But the next two wines we're going to try are from Casa Magoni. Camilo Magoni is literally the patriarch, the grandfather of Valle de Guadalupe. He has been down here for 54 vintages, I believe. So he has seen everything as you can imagine, in terms of the growth and the development.
Really quickly, I'm sorry to make you go backwards. Cindy has a question, and I was
Oh, great. Go ahead.
typing, and then I was texting to say, and what I really should have just did was unmute myself. So I'm sorry. My fault, Cindy. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's totally fine. And I'm sorry, I kind of came in late to the
No, go ahead.
presentation. My apologies. I had a question about, I'm just tasting your wine now. It's delicious. It's really, really, it's excellent. And I had a question just more in general about where you grow your grapes. And are you at all prepared or worried about climate change, and how are you adjusting, I guess, or are you not? I don't know, for warmer climates or just a change in climate. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yes, of course. We actually, I've only been here for, well, now actually 6 vintages, and I have found that definitely, I mean, in Bordeaux, we were confronted to this problem, and in Mexico, we have the same problem. Of course, it's a global issue. I think and it's just, you know, my perspective. In Baja, we started planting a lot of grapes that came from south of France, just because, of course, France is a reference. We had Italian varietals too, but south of France because of the weather, you know, because it's hot like Baja California. But of course, with global warming, I have noticed that those type of varietals, like early ripening varietals, tend to lose acidity very quickly and not ripen fully. So you have kind of these green wines with high alcohol levels and no acidity. So it's complicated. And I know that personally here in Bruma, I've been planting a lot of varietals that are late ripening: Cabernet Franc, Carmenère, Petit Syrah, in white Viognier, which I think it's beautiful. Sauvignon Blanc that tends to have, you know, keep more acidity. So I have definitely been moving things around and forgetting about Grenache, Mourvèdre, and those types of varietals, and heading more for brighter, more acidic stuff, because we have had, you know, very hot, actually today is above 110, I think. It's the hottest day that we've had this year. But this is now, you know, I mean, and even in California, we have the same phenomenon. It's something that we really need to look into. I know, Danny, if you have another, you know, sense of it.
I was thinking this is a really good question to even tackle at the end, because I think everybody has a lot to say about this. This is, I think, this is a longer conversation, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can certainly circle back.
We're going to bring it back. I'll make a note of it at the very end. I think we should definitely talk about this, because I know everybody probably wants to say something for a significant amount of time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lulu. All right, so let's turn our attention. Lulu mentioned Viognier, so that's a great way to segue into the first wine from Camilo Magoni. We're going to try his Manaz, his Vino Blanco. It is 80% Viognier, 20% Fiano. And this one, in this one little wine, I think it kind of tells the story of Valle. It's pretty rare. In fact, Valle might be the only place in the world where you're going to find Viognier growing next to Fiano. You have a Rhone varietal and Italian varietal. Typically, they're not grown together. But in Valle, we grow, at last count, about 125 different grape varietals: Spanish, Italian, French, Rhone, Burgundian. And because there's no rules, why not blend them together? So Camilo's objective here is the Viognier gives a lot of great, beautiful aromatics, and the Fiano added just a little bit of acidity to it, so it kind of gives it a lift, and it doesn't allow the wine to get too syrupy or too over the top. Just a very fun, easy drinking white wine that is truly unique to Valle de Guadalupe.
Wow.
And Delilah, I think you mentioned that this is a wine that's done really well for you in your not just club, but sales. Or not? Delilah, question. Can you hear me?
Sorry, I just unmuted myself. I was writing some notes.
No,
I'm
so
sorry, what was your question?
the question was, hasn't this wine performed really well for you in terms of?
Yeah, I just put in the chat. This was, I think, one that several customers, club members had said that they liked in the shipment. It was in the spring shipment. So that's a reason why I thought it'd be good to bring it back, because I know people have been wanting to revisit it. I know the store has ordered a few cases of it after the spring shipment, and yeah, this has definitely been popular. And I'm personally getting notes of like honeysuckle, apple.
The tiniest bit syrupy, but not too bad.
Little sweet, but not crazy sweet. It's just like
No, what's really interesting is that Viognier, especially California Viognier, can be at times very almost syrupy and over the top. But in Baja, because it tends to be a shorter growing season, Camilo's picking this a little bit earlier and then uses the Fiano to make sure it gives it a little bit of an acid lift, if you will. So that way it keeps it from being this overly syrupy Viognier, which quite frankly, I'm not a big fan of. But this is bright, clean, crisp, very fun, and it's not something you'll find darn just about anywhere. Camilo as a whole, his whole objective is to make wines that are very approachable. He wants people to buy his wines, open them up for their backyard parties and fiestas. He's not looking for wines to sit on a shelf and collect dust. He wants people to drink his wines, enjoy them, and not feel like they're breaking the bank just to get a bottle of wine. All right, so let's move on to the second wine from Camilo Magoni. We are trying his 2018 Sauvignon Blanc. It's 100% Sauvignon Blanc. This was originally made exclusively for the United States. I had a need and a demand for a Sauvignon Blanc that was under 20, right around $20 and very affordable. And I couldn't find one. So I just went to Camilo and pretty much begged him and asked him to make me a Sauvignon Blanc. And now it's become part of their regular portfolio. And you can now find it in Mexico as well. His particular Sauvignon Blanc leans more in the direction of a tropical fruits, less New Zealand, more California, more New World. So very tropical, a lot of pineapple, tropical fruits. And I see here that somebody spent a birthday at Magoni. Who's that? Raise your hand.
That was me.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I'm trying to get my other computer online right now, and it's like our internet, I think, because everything's going on in the house, but I'm so jealous. Your birthday.
Yeah, we did a Club Tango Hombre trip to Valle a couple years ago, and the last winery we went to was Magoni, and then we had dinner at Finca.
Fantastic. Well, here's one thing I'll tell any of you. If any of you are heading down sometime in the future, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to arrange private tastings with some of the wineries that you're obviously tasting today and other wineries that you may not be familiar with. So if you have any trouble getting a hold of or getting replies, because occasionally, sometimes winemakers are not the easiest people to get a hold of, I would be more than happy to try to connect the dots for you so that way you can have a unique experience.
And I also want to just say, if anybody wants to pick somebody up, if they're going to Valle, feel free to pick me up. I am more than happy to tag along and ride in the back seat of the car. I will schlep luggage, whatever you need, but I will be your guest. I'm happy to do that.
Hey, when are we going to do an Alta Baja trip to Baja?
I want to do that, but I was thinking about doing that, but COVID.
So once we're hopefully past this, we really need to put together some sort of a trip down to Baja.
Yes, please.
And I will help organize it. All right. Any questions about Magoni wines? Hold on. There's people like, I don't know if that's a question or just being excited.
That's how I am too. I'm getting stuff on the computer too. So, and I have no internet on this computer.
All right. So enough of me. I'd like to now turn this back over to Lulu to tell us about the Bruma Plan B Tinto, and then we'll finish up that conversation or the tasting session with Danielle Lundberg in Cañada de los Encinos. So Lulu, you're more interesting than I am, so.
You've got that right. I'm kidding.
Thank you.
No, of course not, Tom. Plan B 2018, a particular blend, a little, you know, our products in Bruma, we have Vinos de la Casa, which are entry-level, natural wines, experimental kind of range. And then we have Plan B Tinto, and then our Ocho, which is our premium range, no? And both with Plan B Blanco and with Plan B Tinto, which what we want is to have, you know, very precise, very pure wines that are refreshing, that are versatile. And here we love to eat in Baja. Our you know, gastronomical and culinary scene here is extremely interesting, and it's actually kind of the gastronomical capital with Oaxaca of our country. So Plan B was exactly that. Our chef, David Castro, we work a lot together, and we wanted to make a red that you could easily pair served fresh with, you know, seafood or fish, but at room temperature would go beautifully with lamb. And that's what we tried to do with our Plan B. It's a blend of Grenache, Mourvèdre, Malbec, and Merlot, 3 M's, 1 G. And a funny thing about Grenache is that when you pick or you harvest Grenache fresh, not over ripened, but, you know, very early on, you have a lot of freshness, acidity, and very polished tannins. This has absolutely no Pinot Noir, but I compare it to it just because it's you know, it has kind of that lacy tannic structure, and it's this, you know, unconventional blend, which I'm not all for, but Baja is unconventional blend of, you know, half Bordeaux, half south of France. But I just feel the tannic structure, kind of velvety, very elegant of the Grenache, goes beautifully with the depth of the Malbec and the Merlot, and just kind of the fruitiness of the Mourvèdre. So I think even though it's an unconventional blend, it really works out beautifully and balances everything out. It's not high in alcohol, again, nice freshness, natural freshness. You know, a lot of fruit, but still we have some oak in there, so some tertiary aromas kind of developing, but still kind of very, very versatile, and, you know, nice freshness and length in mouth.
So Lulu, was the goal to make something that was, I guess, a medium body, higher acid red wine versus some of the bigger bodied reds that you'll find in the valley?
Yeah, and there's actually a huge gap between our premium Ocho Tinto and this Plan B. Again, I lived a long time in France, and I just loved being able, you know, Mexico is a very young market, or young wine consuming market. And we tend to drink wine in special occasions, in a birthday or an anniversary or a, you know, family reunion. In Europe, we drink wine every day for no special reason. And for me, that's the way we should drink wine. You know, 80% of what we drink has to be like that, and maybe 20% has to be that premium, you know, special occasion wine. So what I wanted to do with this was precisely that, just, you know, have a lot of freshness, nice acidity, and drink every day. That's a great, that's a great tip, right? No, but I mean, you know, wine is all about eating, about food, about just every day enjoying life. So for me, Plan B, that was the idea behind it. Being able, like when you're in Europe, being able to sit in a bistro or a brasserie and don't know what you're drinking, don't really care what you're drinking, and just thinking, wow, this is good, this is nice, I'm enjoying this. And that's what wine drinking, or most wine drinking, should be about.
Lulu, quick question. I'm just wondering, would you have this slightly chilled?
Yes, I always serve it at 17. Oh, Fahrenheit. 1718 Celsius. Tom, I know you're great on doing conversions. What is that?
I'll find out. Hold on.
Yeah, cool.
You'll serve it fría.
Yeah, right?
I'm Googling it as we speak. 17 to Fahrenheit. I'm sorry. 62 degrees Fahrenheit?
Yeah, so 62.6. So it's roughly, maybe a little bit over cellar temperature, like pulling out of a wine refrigerator.
Yeah. This is the drinking temperature. So probably, you would say 15 degrees. So that's 59, getting out of the cellar at 59 and drinking at 62.
Because my wine refrigerator is right now at 59.2 degrees, so that's
Perfect.
And it's just slightly chilled, so it's kind of cool, a little crisp.
Definitely, there's definitely a wine that has to be served a little bit chilled. I know that in France they would kill me for saying this, because normally you would chill wines that are bad or American, French not being snobbish at all, or Argentinian or Chilean or Mexican for that matter. But I really, really enjoy and had this idea of having this wine served chilled, fresh, and just with whatever you want to eat. It pairs beautifully.
I still have that question. Pairing. What would you do?
So what we do here is we start off with it being really fresh, 58, 59 degrees. And we serve it with garnachas. It's difficult, but kind of can we compare it to? Sopes or tacos, or anything that has maíz, that has corn. It could be with pizza, for example, too, if you don't know, not being Mexican. But we serve it at room temperature or almost room temperature with lamb. We have a braised lamb here, which is beautiful and goes just perfectly with this. I personally love it with our lobina. How do you say lobina, Tomas?
You're asking me?
I know, lobina in
That's a
English.
fish.
Daniel says pescado.
Pescado, thank you.
Pescado.
Fish, yes.
Fish.
Bass.
Fish.
We have a lot of bass here in Ensenada. So I love it with this wine, a little bit chilled with bass and a spicy sauce, goes beautifully.
Well, one thing that comes out for sure, Lulu, is that you love to drink.
And eat. Yeah. And live.
All right. Well, thank you, Lulu. If we have any other questions about Bruma or any of the wines, we'll circle back at the end. And waiting patiently, Danielle Lohnberg from Vin Sur, who makes the beautiful Cañada de los Encinos. And when we talk about different Baja blends, I'm not sure you can be any more different than Zinfandel and Petit Verdot. And Danielle, please explain how Zinfandel and Petit Verdot somehow make a medium-bodied, high-acid red wine.
I'm sorry, Tom. I don't. How? What?
How does Petit Verdot and Zinfandel, una mezcla, make a medium-bodied, high-acid red wine? Because I think it would have been the opposite, super big.
Yes. Well, probably it's super bigger, huh? But in my case, I believe in drinkable wines. In Chile, I come from Chile, but I lived too many years in Mexico, 15 years. One of the reasons is my girlfriend is from Mexico, of course. And then I stay here. But I believe in drinkable wines, of course. In this case, Cañada is that label. It's very unusual blending in Baja. Probably here the most people of the Winemaker use the Cabernet, Merlot, Syrah right now. And in my project, this is my personal project. I try to make a different style. And one day, of eight years ago, I I harvest the I found the old Zinfandel here in Baja, and I like Zinfandel because in Mexico usually use the Zinfandel for the rosé. In my case, Zinfandel is a red grapes, and the idea is make it a different wine. In Chile, Petit Verdot usually use it in blending because Petit Verdot is a big grapes. And when put together, Zinfandel and Petit Verdot, and make a usual wine. For me, Cañada de los Encinos is a drinkable wine. I love the drinkable wines. Probably right now the people try or buy bottles from more drinkable wines, not too much bigger wines. In my case, I love every day. I love drink wine. Obviously, it's my profession. But in final results, I make easy wines for me. It's very unusual. The Petit Verdot, for example, the grapes is not Guadalupe Valle. I buy the grapes in my case. The Petit Verdot is the south of the Ensenada. The name of the valley is Llano Colorado. Y the Zinfandel is from Guadalupe Valley. Put together, I think the blend is very interesting, very good. I don't know.
Danielle, is there anybody else that you know in Valley that's making a Zinfandel Petit Verdot blend, or are you the only crazy one?
No, probably it's crazy one because not usual. It's not usual the blend the Zinfandel and Petit Verdot. Probably right now the people using more Petit Verdot because the different winemaker use a Petit Verdot in a different blend. But for me, probably the big one, the first, and use a Petit Verdot and Zinfandel in the same blend. It's not usual here in Baja, obviously.
And how many cases do you produce? ¿Cuántos cajas?
No, my project, Vinsur, is a very small project. I consult in another wineries, of course, but I produce probably 1,000 cajas is 1,000 cases. 1,000 cases, I think. 1,000 cajas, yeah.
So your total production for Vinsur is
only 1,000.
1,000.
I want to say when we did the tasting, our video tasting, we were fighting over several wines, but this is the one that we were fighting the most over. This is a really beautiful wine, and I remember we sold this a long time ago and just started bringing it back. A lot of people are commenting on the blend and how unique and distinctive it is. So just cheers. It's a beautiful wine.
It's very elegant.
It's very elegant. That's the husband now spoke.
I try to not. It's not put in too much in barrels. It's put 1 year in barrels, French oak principal, but not put the new oak too much. I put only 20% new oak and put in another barrels is neutral oak, because I believe in the fruit first and then the oak. Oak is the orchid. I help to the big, but I prefer fruity wines, drinkable wines. Is that the reason for the Cañada de los Encinos? Is I like it because you drinkable every day. You don't need food with the Cañada. Probably you need the food, but it's not necessary. Entonces, in Chile, for example, in Estados Unidos, in Chile, drink wine every day. I try to make that wines. No, I try to make it each drinkable wines, of course. No, y Cañada de los Encinos is in fact is one of them for in terms of the the wines.
So Danielle, that's exactly what we said in our video. We talked about Bruma as you would drink this while you're cooking and smelling the aromas, and then you would drink your wine just by itself. Don't have to, that's it. You just have to focus on it right now. And everybody just, I don't know, it's a really interesting discussion. I have to go back on the video. I know it's in the newsletter for our wine club members, but that's how we talked about this particular wine. It was something that you don't, either you eat that big steak with it, or you just don't eat it at all and just focus on the wine as the focal point of your meal. But everybody really loved it.
Yeah, the most interesting for me when they come to the first time here to Baja California is Baja is no rules. You put different grapes in different conditions. Where everyone you put 3, 4, 5 different grapes in the blending, and that's it. It's the reason for the too much winemaker for another part of the world coming. I have a friend from Argentina right now. I have a friend from Spain, for France, and this is very interesting. This is the reason for the stay. Yeah, live here in Baja California. Yeah, don't come back to Chile right now. Obviously, my girlfriend is. I know. Is one of the very important part. But here in Cali, here Valle Guadalupe is amazing. I think the food and the wines is very interesting. Obviously, you guys invited, visit us, whatever. Obviously, here another important here, for example, is the connected with the different owner or different winemaker. When you come in with us, it's attended for us. It's not attended for the another people. For me, it's interesting that part because it's right now when you come into here, it's very personal. It's very personal right now. Say I don't know. It's amazing here.
Tom, I see that we have some questions. Do we want to ask them, or do you want to ask them?
No, just go ahead and fire them out, because I know that Danielle obviously just covered the last wine thoroughly. So if we have any questions that people have been saving up that have been sending via chat, now's actually a good time just to throw them out there and see what Danielle, Lulu, or Sergio might have to say.
Cindy has a question.
Where's Cindy up above?
Yeah.
Oh, she's raising her hand. Sorry. That's done. I'm like new to the
Hi. No, you're doing fine. Thank you so much for that. I have a question about, you talked about the restrictions maybe in other areas of the world when it comes to winemaking, definitely in places like Europe, and how in Valle and Mexico, it seems like there's more room for experimentation. I'm wondering if you could compare, like, let's say California and Mexico in regards to restrictions, and why it is that Valle or just Mexico in general is a lot better when it comes to experimentation and trying different things than, let's say, places like Paso Robles or the Anderson Valley or the Alexander Valley in California.
Yeah. Any of the winemakers want to grab that question? Otherwise, I can jump in.
Well,
Thank you.
Oh, you're putting it on me?
You guys.
I would say if you look back at Paso Robles 25 years ago, it was pretty experimental. I mean, you had guys like Steven Aseo from L'Aventure. He came from France because of all the restrictions. And he just,
That's right. That's exactly what I was thinking of. Is that, L'Aventure. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Yeah.
So I think that Paso Robles is a really good kind of base if you want to compare it to what's happening in Valle right now. Because, as Danielle mentioned, he has friends from Chile, from Argentina, from Spain. Lulu spent time in France. We have guys from, Thomas Iglis from where? From Switzerland?
Thomas is from Switzerland, for Swiss.
So we have people from all over the world that are down in Valle making wines just because it's so free and you can do anything. And I think because it's a very Mediterranean climate, everybody who's come there over the last 100 years has believed that they could grow their local grapes in Baja. So that's why there's 125 different grapes, from Tempranillo, from Syrah, to Chardonnay, to Bordeaux varietals. I mean, there's everything there. There's Malbec. And because there's no rules, you end up getting a Cañada de los Encinos, Petit Verdot and Zinfandel, or you get a Manaz from Camilo that is Viognier and Fiano. That's kind of what's cool about Baja right now. I mean,
Also, I'm just wondering, is it just more expensive to make wine in California than it is in places like Baja, or no? Because it seems like to me that Baja is really expensive too. It's becoming more expensive. I don't know.
that's a good question for Sergio. In terms of producing wines in Valle, compared to a place like Napa, I would assume that Valle has got to be cheaper, no?
But what about like Paso, for instance, or Anderson Valley, or?
Sergio, you're on mute.
I think it could be because of external factors. I think, for example, if you produce in Mexico and you sell in Mexico, taxes are really, really high. And when you export, for example, to the U.S., you have a whole different system of the way to do things in the U.S. In terms of state regulations and stuff. So I think it's far for us to reach all the way and get those good good prices maybe, or but I think it's a lot of what each winery does, and the hard to get things done maybe, or not, but that's I think it's more about external things than wineries can also control the inside stuff for them, But in Mexico, you pay, for example, from your price, 42.5% higher price because of the tax. So that's why it's.
One of the reasons why you don't see, great Mexican wines for under $10 retail is the fact that all the stuff that they use to make wines, all the corks, capsules, bottles, labels, barrels, have to be imported from either the United States or France, and you're financing that with the peso, but you have to pay U.S. dollars. Most grape contracts are in U.S. dollars.
Well, one other thing, Tom. Sorry. It's that the most of at least who we are here, we have our own, our own vineyard, and that's another good reason for it, to have your own state, and
All right. So the next question is from Scott Leslie, and maybe Danielle, Lulu, you guys can take a shot at this. He said, "How are you aging your wines, and for how long?"
Sorry, Lulu.
I don't like. Oh, sorry.
Ladies first.
Ladies first. No, I don't. I'm not a huge fan of aging wines for a long time in barrel. I just like, again, coming back to acidity and freshness. I just like having wines that are alive, vibrant, and young. So I never age them for more than 18 months. And the amount of new French oak, I only use French oak. So the amount of new French oak really depends on the varietal and the depth of the wine that I'm working with. I think that, there's a couple of winemakers here that are still working with 24, 36 months aging, kind of old Spanish traditional way. I just think that, the varietal kind of loses its DNA when you leave it too long in barrels. So I never age more than 18 months.
Daniel?
In my case, Cañada, I aged only 1 year, but one thing I believe in the fruits. I use it only 20% new oak, just for the structure only. But I try to blend the fruity and the oaky. This is my perception. But it's 1 year only. I use it In the same with the Lulu, I use it only French oak because I think the French oak is more, it's not too much oaked in the wines because
It's more subtle.
exactly. If you use it American, for example, the pen, probably it's too much oaked in my wines, and try to use it only French oak. It's more details for the blending, in my opinion, of course.
Sergio, what about for you in terms of aging?
Yeah, I believe almost the same as Daniel. The Lulu French oak, the last time we used American oak was in 2015, and we aged it for around 12 months. But yeah, and what we're doing right now is we use the really light toast for the Chardonnay, and those barrels after aging the Chardonnay for 4 months, 4 to 6 months, we use them for the Tempranillo. So, you know, and French oak. So yeah.
Yeah,
And
one of the,
so
go
going
ahead.
to that lighter toast, and to keep the freshness in the fruit. As Daniel, I believe that as we're doing a drink from fruit, you know, it has to go all the way to the glass.
One of the things that I found as an importer is that as a whole, most Mexican or most wineries in Baja tend to be in that 12 to 18 range. 20 to 30% new oak is about the norm. I don't think there's too many people that are doing really heavily oaked wines. I just don't think that they do well given the growing conditions in Baja. So they tend to be a little bit lighter footprint on oak, which quite frankly, I find a lot easier to drink.
And again, it all depends on what you're working with, because you can have a wine that only has 20% new French oak, and it seems like it's all about the oak. And certain wines that are deep and have a lot of structure and go up to 70 or 80%, and you have the impression that there's no oak. So it kind of really depends on what you're working with, what varietal, the structure that it has, the concentration. Because I have had wines that are, you know, below 20% that are just oaky, as you know, you don't have anything left. So it really, you have to know the wine that you're working with in order to kind of figure out how much oak you're having, because there's no rules, and it doesn't mean that, you know, you should be below 20 or 30 or you'll notice it too much.
Okay, I got a question from Miguel. He's asking, what is the most popular wine produced in Valle? I'm guessing that means varietal. Is there any such signature varietal in Valle right now? Lulu, Daniel, Sergio? I mean,
I don't think so. There's a lot of Nebbiolo being done, and I think it has become, you know, very specific here and a thing in Baja. But there's so many things going on that I don't think there's one single varietal that we're known for.
I think right now Nebbiolo is the big one, because when you make a wine from Nebbiolo from here, from Guadalupe, from Baja, it's a big one. It's the grapes, when you make it Nebbiolo, is very darker, very tannins, very smoothie. Entonces, probably right now is the reason for the big one here in Baja. It's the most expensive for us when I buy the grapes. Nebbiolo right now is the most expensive. But I don't know. Is why or what grape is right now in Baja is the principal. In the past, I think it's Tempranillo. When I come the first time, Tempranillo was the very important grapes in the past. But right now it's Nebbiolo. Here in Baja is move everything. Entonces probably it's the reason for I'd say is here is no rules. It's mini laboratory in terms of you make a different wine, you make a different blending. It's for enologists from winemakers. That is very interesting, obviously.
all right, Lulu, I have a question for you from Bernadette. She wants to know, how is it being a female winemaker in a male-dominated culture? And considering how shy you are, how are you holding up? I threw the last part in.
You know what? Mexico is a very macho country. And since I started off in France, and France is a little bit more or less macho, I thought it was going to be extremely difficult in Mexico. And I was surprised to find that it was actually very tough in France. And I never felt anything negative here in Mexico with me being a woman winemaker, not a woman. I'm just talking about, I don't think this is a general, or it's valid for everything in Mexico, but specifically for winemakers in Mexico, I've never felt attacked or poorly looked upon or discriminated, just because I think it's a very young industry. We're very, very young in Mexico. I mean, we're actually the second generation of winemakers in the region. So, and in Bordeaux, it's filled with tradition and centuries of winemaking and extremely male dominant. So sincerely, here in Mexico, I've never felt anything bad towards, me being a girl. Sometimes it happens, of course, but not in the way, in France, everyone used to tell me when they went to Blanco, they said, oh, you're in charge of the visits, or you're, the commercial part, or your marketing, but never into production. And here, I've just never felt that, I'm in production, I'm a female winemaker, and nobody seems to have a problem with it. But I think it's because just we're so.
This isn't me.
Pros.
So Tom, this goes in. I don't want to interrupt Lulu. Is she still talking?
No, we have Lulu on a words limit. So when she hits her limit,
Lulu, come back.
we freeze her screen. It's the only way we get her to stop. So we put her on a word limit. No, but Lulu, I mean, to your point, I mean, if you look at some of the wineries, you have prominent women that are in various roles. You have True Miller at Adobe. You have yourself over at Bruma. You have Cristina Pino over at Santo Tomas.
Yes.
You have some really prominent women at some of the most historical wineries or the highest end projects in all of Florida.
Yeah.
So we're kind of screwed.
Women rule. That's
we're kind of screwed.
Women.
Winemaking.
I would like to address this in like a future Zoom, but I think Valle is very different from every other region. I think what you guys are doing is totally different and new and inclusive, and you're changing things up and you're being creative and non-traditional, and you're following your own individual paths, and I think that's just a really beautiful thing, and you're coming out with beautiful wines as a result. And as far as women in wine, I am just really passionate about that, and I would like to see that, just because in general, we're not talking about Valle, we're talking about in general, women are, you don't see them as much. I think you're seeing some, like we're trying to support some within California, within the US, which you don't see as much, but obviously I'm very passionate about this. I'm a business person,
I am too.
woman, and I know how hard it is, even though I'm in a good community that supports women in business. But, I look at the world in general, and that's different from my own community, just like it's different from your own community. And I don't know, we're all in support of each other, and I just want to see more of this. And I feel like we all get it. We're in our community where we get it.
Yes, and we can maybe do a Women in Wine future project or one of the two sessions. Danielle,
why discriminate?
Yeah, of course. The woman.
No discrimination. It's all just everybody's together.
No.
All right. So Danielle, I think I have a question for you from Erica. She says, why did you choose to make wine in Mexico? So if you're from Chile, why would you come all the way to Mexico to make wine when you could have stayed in Chile?
Yeah, because
Girlfriend.
Well, it's before your girlfriend.
Girlfriend, exactly.
No, it was before.
That's the principal reason, but no. I'm just kidding. And no, the principal reason for coming is because probably when I come the first time in 2003, I'm coming the first time, but I stay here and working in Mexico in Domecq, when it's still Domecq. I work in Domecq for only the harvest and come back to Chile for working in other wineries in Chile. But I see the potential with this place potential. And in 2005, and determination to come in and live here in Mexico. And the condition, I think the condition in Mexico, in terms of speak for the Guadalupe Valley, the condition here is very great. You make it wonderful wines. The industry, Lulu say, is very younger. Probably, well, obviously, another wineries are older, but right now, in terms of the wine of the all together, all things, right now is open, and obviously it's an opportunity for me. In Chile, is too many winemakers. The industry is very, in terms of the wineries is bigger, but it's too many winemakers. And Mexico is new, and the reason for this is coming the first time, and coming and is the principal reason for the coming here. The condition here is very good, and the food, another thing, is very good. When you come in, obviously, I hope to come in to visit us, and when they visit us, the food and the wines, and you visit another wineries, wow, it's an amazing place, I think, for me. It's the reason for the stay here in Baja right now, and I live 15 years here. I never come back to Chile, probably. Yeah, my life is here, yeah.
Well, I think Danielle makes a great point. I think the fact that because it's so different, so unique, and there's so many opportunity, I think that's what's driving winemakers from around the world to go to Valle. Yeah. It's what drove me as an importer to say, yeah, I live here in Napa, but I want something different. And when I went down to Baja, you find that. You find a community of people like Sergio, like Danielle, like Lulu, like Camilo. You have this unique community that wants to work together to show people that they can make great wines in Mexico. And then when you add Mexican cuisine and Mexican hospitality on top of that, it's pretty tough to find any other place that delivers that sort of experience. All right, question from the winemakers from, I think this was from Oscar. He said he noticed that the alcohol levels tend to be lower on Mexican wines. Is that something that you're specifically striving for, or is that just what Mother Nature gives you? So any of the winemakers, you guys want to jump in?
Lower than what?
Well, and take Napa, for instance. 14.5% alcohol for a Sauvignon Blanc is kind of normal. You know, it's like, you know, if you see a 14.5 on a red, you know it's probably 15.2. So why are Bajas a good point and a half lower?
I think that's a very kind of personal question, depending on how each winemaker works.
Okay.
I know that I'm particularly attentive on not having high alcohol degrees and working with it through irrigation, through pruning, the time where you know how early on you prune or how late you prune, on the ripening of the grape. So for me, I'm very, very attentive. Since I don't acidify any of our wines or don't add any water to our wines, we have to have low alcohol levels and nice acidity naturally. So definitely for me, I work hard on it. It's an objective, and I love having wines under 12% alcohol. So definitely it's something that I always work on.
Daniel?
For me, I think you don't need make it wines to the alcohol to highest, I think. Probably when I come in the first time, the industry here make it wines the high alcohol. Right now, I think they move that part. Yeah. Personally, the same Lulu. I try to make wines in terms of the alcohol a little less. Yeah, exactly. I prefer the acidity natural in the grapes, because I cut not too much higher in the harvest, not too much maturity too much. Because I don't know, it depends. But right now, I think it's for me is I prefer the less alcohol.
Sergio, do you feel the same? You feel the same way?
I think each vintage has its own external factors that involve a decision to harvest. So I think some years you might have a little bit higher than 13, and maybe you could be lower. But for us, it depends on the vintage, how the weather is, and maduration. You know, the process of maduration and that decision that you make. I think, at least for us, we don't look for that reason to have it lower or reason to have it higher. It depends on that year and what the weather and the maduration process it's going.
Okay. All right, Lulu, we have a question for you from Bernadette. So what wines are you creating now? Is there anything new that you're working on that maybe we've not yet seen? Do you have any surprises for us? Because we know winemakers can't turn away from a new grape or a new varietal.
Lots and lots this year. It's been my year where, it's been a very particular year because of what happened with COVID and there's the vineyard wasn't as easy as we thought it was going to be. We have not a lot of alcohol and high acidity, but sometimes a little bit of greenness in there, and it just opened up my brain to a lot of stuff. We're working on a Barbera that's going to be sparkling that I'm really, really, really looking forward to. It's méthode traditionnelle champenoise, so double fermentation in barrel. We have a Carmenere rosé, which no one will like except for me, but that's okay with me.
Great. Great way to sell that wine. Thank you. Thank you for selling that wine.
That's very commercial. You know that I'm not a good salesperson.
No, you're terrible.
No, I really, I made this rosé just because I love Carmenere. I deeply think it has its place here in Mexico, in Baja. And this Carmenere has this very herbaceous, herbal, floral aroma, which I love. It's not fruity at all. So for a rosé, it could be, like a turnoff, but I just love it. It's low alcohol, so herbal. So very excited about that Carmenere rosé too. And then this year, a lot come from Rincón de Guadalupe, which is an estate that has been in my family for, now 5 generations. And my uncles that ran the vineyard, unfortunately passed away, both of them this year. So we're doing a harvest or a single vineyard wine that is going to be for them. So I'm really excited about that too, because Rincón de Guadalupe has a very distinctive soil and terroir. So yeah, a lot of cool things and personal, things coming out this year.
All right, so Lulu, I don't understand how, but given that great sales pitch, we actually have people that want to know when can they get their hands on that rosé.
It's going to be interesting.
Well, when will it be available?
January.
Okay.
I know everybody's new at what they're working on.
Exactly. Danielle, what are you working on that's new?
The new harvest?
No, I mean, do you have any new wines, any new brands that maybe have not been released yet into the States that maybe might be coming?
Probably rosé and another 2 wines, not in terms of the drinkable wines, a little more wines, red wines. The idea is grow my personal project. The idea is growing this year. In terms of the Lulu say with the COVID, obviously some of the change that part, but my mind, I think that I try to release that.
Weren't you working on some new red blends? Reflejo?
Reflejo is the new red blends. It's 2. It's one Reflejo is the basis Nebbiolo with a blend and other grapes. and then another reflejo is Petit Verdot with another grapes. It's for me, I try to make a drinkable wines. It's reflejo is the line of the not top, sino que
So like Vino de Casa.
exactly wine, house wine.
And
house
we will get those for the United States.
Yeah, of course, for you, Tom.
Excellent. All right, Sergio, what about you? Anything new that you're working on for Santos Brujos?
Yeah, we're launching Ananda, so that's our reserva per se, and that's next month, and we are launching also expression, which is no oak Tempranillo.
And those also are wines that are going to be eventually commercially available for the United States.
Absolutely.
All right, Delilah, we need to clear more space at Alta Baja.
Some more space. We sold a lot of wine this weekend, but
Thank you, everyone.
I like how my husband's already. I'm like, you haven't even been here.
Well,
Can we do a Vino with the spouses? Can we just do a whole episode about that?
okay. For those of you that may not realize it, Alta Baja Market has probably one of the largest collections of Mexican wines in Southern California. I mean, there are a lot of other bigger wine shops that might have 5, 6, 7, 10 SKUs. Delilah, you must carry
30.
30?
Yeah.
And pretty soon,
I'm starting to realize this. Like, I think we carry the most from Valle. I never feel like confident saying anything, because I don't ever want to say, but I'm now looking around and I'm like, everybody's just like 1 to 5 bottles. And I'm like, this is so wrong. I just want to do as much as I can. I love Valle. I think it's amazing. Everybody there they're beautiful and they're talented. And it's our neighbor and we're close. And I think we need to celebrate this. And oh, honey, I'm drinking that. That was our favorite for summer. But this is, how can I not? My mother's from Nogales. I am part Yaqui. This is my people, and I can't think of not doing this, and I love it. And if I can educate and bring the passion of this wine,
thank you, Delilah.
I'm so happy to do it, and I get to drink it too. And we have 2 minutes until the end of our session. Okay, so Thomas, should I end this? Is that okay?
go ahead and wrap it up. It's your show.
I think at 7:30 we're totally done. Is that how it goes? Did I cut us off?
Yeah, because at 7:31 we start charging double overtime.
Oh, okay. So I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank Sergio, Danielle, Lulu, and of course Tomas, and all of you for joining us in our first Baja Wine Club wine tasting event on Zoom. I want to do more of this. I feel like it's super important, and it's super important for us to connect in these days where we can't really be close. I want to start planning this trip, by the way, so let's start organizing the back end. For those of you who didn't have questions that were not answered during this time, please feel free to email me, and I will collect those. I have been taking notes, and we can ask these at a later time, or maybe just do one-on-one sessions with people. We have a YouTube channel that is coming out that is going to be discussing more about the wines. But anyways, thank you for your time, everyone. Thank you to our winemakers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
The wines, maybe not too much, but maybe too much because it's really hot outside. So at this point, who cares?
And on behalf of the winemakers and myself, thank you for all the support. I mean, you and I have been on this journey for the better part of 3 years. I mean, you were one of the first people that I introduced Mexican wines or wines from Baja when I first started. The fact that you're carrying close to 30 SKUs is pretty incredible. So on behalf of us, thank you so much. And for all of you that are
thank you guys.
Wine Club, thank you guys for all your support. Let's get past this damn COVID situation and let's get an Alta Baja visit down to Baja.
Let's go, Valle.
so we can have to go down there and see what this is all about.
Oh, yeah.
So
Here's
thank
to that.
Yes,
Thank you, guys.
salute to
all
all
of
of
you.
you.
and stay healthy.
Thank you.
Take care of your families. But
Cheers!
keep healthy.
Cheers.
Keep
Yeah.
healthy.
Salud!
Hello.
Bye, everybody. Why you bunch of borrachos?
Venga, venga, venga.
Good night, everybody. Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.